Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here. Wipe my tears. Only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember.
Welcome to the Message is Hope podcast, where hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today on the show we have a guest that has been here since I got here.
Yeah.
It's only been 21 months I've known you, but you were very welcoming to me, and I appreciate that, Yollie. How do you know Yollie?
So I met Yollie when we started being of service together at the meeting. Is when I really started to get to know Yollie, and she was hanging out with people I started hanging out with, and actually we crossed paths a lot, but we didn't start. So for the last, you've been clean, what, 5 years? Six, right? So for the last 6 years we crossed paths because of Delphina and Kenny, right? But we never really talked and never really went to a meeting together. And then I started going to a late night meeting, and she was there, and then my boy Sergio was there, and then I met Sergio. Me and Sergio got close, which Sergio has already been on the podcast. And then me and Yollie just kind of got tight, and it's kind of been like an amazing journey, and always love, always support. We've been to conventions together. So long drives all the way to Vegas, from San Bernardino. And yeah, that's how I know Yollie. Yollie's an amazing person, someone that, again, I always say this, but I love when we get to ask people to be up here that we respect and admire their recovery and know that they carry a good message of hope. So, yeah, So
how are you doing today, Yollie?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good.
Fantastic.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So we started out the same way. We asked, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? What was that like? Were you an only child? Did you have siblings? All the things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm from East LA. I was born and raised in East LA. I'm the baby. There's three of us. My older brother, Negro, and my sister, Iris, and then me.
All right.
Yeah. My dad is Salvadorian, and my mom is Mexican. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's the fighter that you see in me.
All right.
Okay, so what was it like for you growing up in East LA?
I loved the neighborhood. I was attracted to, I lived on a street that was very active in East LA. And I loved just seeing the activity go on. My parents weren't, they're not from the streets. They never lived like that, but me and my brother, we loved it. And there was a lot of things that we missed out on. My dad left us when we were very young, and so my mom was kind of single for many years, and we grew up very poor. So watching, all the activity go on, it was exciting. I saw a lot of things that became very attractive to me. And so I thought I was great in East LA. Yeah.
So having a single mom, she was probably working a lot, and you guys were left to care for yourselves, or?
No, actually, my mom never worked.
Oh, okay.
She never worked. My dad would, pretty much support the family from wherever he was or whoever he was with, because he was a ladies' man. And so, he took care of us, but it was never enough. Never. And my mom, she didn't work, so she had to do whatever she had to do to make it work. Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the things that you were attracted to as a kid? Like, what were some of the things that you witnessed, or some of the things that were going on in your neighborhood, stuff like that?
The gangs.
Okay.
The gangs, the drugs, just, the activity.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what was like your school life, like elementary, middle school?
So You know, growing up, because I was always, I've always been a fighter, always. Chaos was something that, like, I lived in a lot, right, at home. And so I would take that with me wherever I went. So going to school, I caused a lot of chaos and a lot of trouble. Yeah. I used to pretty much fight, you know, whoever. I used to fight girls. I used to fight boys. And they knew that about me at school. So a lot of times, a lot of people didn't want to be my friend. They were forced to, though. I was like the school bully. But yeah, so, you know, I always felt different.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of, like, when we first get clean, one of the biggest complaints is, like, I'm bored, right? It's boring, right? Because we're so used to chaos, and I'm so used to, like, everything always happening all the fucking, I mean, fuck, we are so dramatic, you know what I'm saying? Everything is just like a soap opera on the streets, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's fucking her, they're over there doing that, they're doing this, right? And then, like, we get clean. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, my first year, it was really hard for me to sit still.
For sure.
It was really hard.
I felt the same way. And right now, just listening to you, like, you know, my mom was, she's hardcore Catholic. You know, even after my dad left, she never, you know, never went out, no bars, no friends, just church and her children. Right. And so that was very boring to me. When I would have a problem with someone, she'd always say, you know, you need to pray for them. And, you know, fuck that. I don't want to be praying for no one. I'd be praying, but in other ways. And so, yeah, I wanted the chaos. I wanted the thrill, the adrenaline. And that's kind of, you know, I've been addicted to that. That was my first drug.
It's chaos. All right. All right. So when did it start to get like, what was like your partying days, right? Because we all have those days where getting loaded was fun. Yeah. You know, because Mike likes to talk about it, right? Is that that's the problem with drugs is they work, right? They did something for us. You know, you can't share at a meeting, or I don't go to group and say, I hate drugs and alcohol. No, I love drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love getting high. I love drinking. I love fighting. I love all that, right? Yeah. But the end of the road is different than the beginning of the road. So let's talk about like the beginning of the road for you.
So the beginning of the road, you know, I got hooked up with some high profile people. And I, like I said, my first drug was that lifestyle. And then money, of course. So with drugs, I sold them. I didn't do drugs, and I took pride in that.
All right. How old were you at this point?
I was in my early 17, 18 years old.
17, 18.
Yeah.
So 17, 18, you start selling drugs. What kind of drugs are you selling?
Yeah, methamphetamine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you doing this in school, or are you already going to school?
You know, I graduated the 6th grade from Griffith Middle School in LA. And I went to Schur High School in Montebello, and I was there for a few months, and I wasn't showing up. Yeah, I didn't care about schoolwork. I didn't care about nothing. It was boring to me. Everyone was boring to me. I wanted to be out there. So I stopped going to school, and finally they just kicked me out, and they sent me to a continuation school, Vail, Montebello. Yeah. And so I actually did pretty well in Vail. It was small, and the teachers really cared. All right. But I love the fact that they cared, and I can feel the difference going to a continuation school, but it just wasn't enough. I still wanted the streets. Yeah.
Did you finish?
I did not.
The continuation? You didn't?
Nope. Okay. I want to say I think I finished the 9th grade, and one thing I learned about myself going to school is that I love politics.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right, so you're 17, 18 years old,
Uh-huh.
and you're hanging out in the neighborhood, and you get an opportunity to start selling drugs at that point?
Well, like I said, I love politics.
Okay.
So it started there. I met some high profile people, and drugs were really easy to come by.
Right.
And so, I remember my first sack. I didn't know anything about it. I did not know anything about it. My first sack was like a quarter pound, and I didn't know what the hell to do with it. It was a lot. You can't give that to someone who, I still didn't even have the clientele. So I had it for a very long time. It was really hard for me to get rid of it because I wasn't, I didn't know the people yet.
Right.
Yeah. So, so I started slanging. And then after some time, my friends would hang out and it wouldn't bother me. It was, go ahead, smoke out. I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I took pride in that. But eventually, so I had a friend who came down and he was all smoked out. And he tells me, come on, little Betty, go ahead, let's just do it. And for whatever reason, I felt like, I want to try it. I just want to try it. And that day I did. And that was the day that I got hooked. Yeah. I remember that just instantly, when you're the first hit, I used to smoke it. Yeah. So the first hit, the fucking hairs were, standing up and I just felt like, and I got addicted to that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was at like 18 years old, 19, early 20s?
Yeah. 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What happened from there?
So after that, I was smoking out here and there. I'd say just, partying or on the weekends. And then from the weekends, it turned into in between the week, Monday, Wednesday. And before you knew it, I was doing it every day. Mm-hmm. And so, well, you guys know what happens, that the money I was making, now I was just making enough to get another sack just to get high. Yeah. I wasn't making anything. And then the people that I started this with, they knew that I wasn't getting loaded in the beginning, and then they saw it. They saw the changes, and so they ended up. They said no more.
So they would no longer sell to you?
Nope.
Or front you or anything like that?
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. And nobody would. Nobody would. Until I got clean. But you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do, and I don't care who you are. So with that attitude, I was like, screw you guys. I don't need you guys. I know people too. And then, there I go, looking for another connection. Mm-hmm. And I found myself in really bad situations as a female, looking for that amount and by myself, I was always by myself. I never really had a man, So putting myself in those situations were very dangerous.
100%.
And it was scary. Yeah. I'll be honest.
Is there any of those that you would care to talk about, or no? It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time I had met this guy. And it was, I don't know if you guys remember, there's this thing called the party line.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So,
it's so funny, bro.
Yeah, so I remember
oh my God, the party line.
Calling the party line, and I met this guy from a neighborhood. I won't mention the neighborhood, but I tell him, what's up? Do you party? And, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I have it. You want to come? Sure. Pick me up. I'm going to get my homegirl to go pick you up and blah, blah, blah. So I tell him, hey, can you get a half ounce? And then he goes, I'm sorry, not a half ounce. It was a half a pound. And then he's like, yeah, for sure. I don't think he believed me.
Yeah.
So we end up, they pick me up and I have the money with me. And I get in their back seat and they're like, is this girl for real? And so finally we end up getting to their neighborhood. Everyone's having a good time. And then I'm telling them, we're smoking out and I'm telling them, hey, so are you going to be able to do that? And he goes, oh, yeah. Let's go. So we end up, we got in the car and we end up going to this house in El Monte. And he goes, listen, we're going to get off because she has to go somewhere else, the driver. And we have to get off. So, but the guy's old lady, she's going to trip because you're a female. So you're going to have to stay out here. I was so desperate and I was coming down bad. I knew that I had nothing. I had nothing left. And I was not going to go home with nothing. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I didn't care if I had to stay behind. Go get it. And so I give them all the money I had. Okay, and so they go up to this apartment complex. After a while, the girl left. After a while, they're not coming down. And after a while, I realized I got jacked.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know from the very beginning when I started, doing this, like I go where my money goes. And this time I was just desperate. And I didn't go where my money went. And, thank God. I see that today, like, thank God I didn't, because something really bad could have happened. Yeah. Luckily, that day, I found myself without any money to get home, no drugs to smoke. I can't even remember how I got home, but I remember I felt like I wanted to die. Mm-hmm. And all I can do is cry, and I cried myself to sleep. Yeah.
You know what's so like insidious about the disease of addiction? Like I remember, smoking my last bowl, and like crying, right? Because like I know like once this is done, like I got to go back out there and I got to figure something out. I got to lie, I got to rob, I got to steal, I got to whatever the fuck it like. Another moral, another value, another standard that I have held for myself for so long is gonna have to be lowered one more fucking time. Right, and it's like I look at it, bro. It's like, cause I wasn't like there was nothing glamorous about. I mean, there's nothing glamorous about addiction, period. Right, but like people will get up there and I had this much, I had that much. That wasn't me, man. I fucking had a few grams at a time if I was lucky. You know what I mean? But most of the time, you know what I'm saying, a dime here, 20 here, like this here, that there, right? Like if I could fucking sell a chair, I'll sell a chair for a $5 bag, whatever, right? And like such a small bag of substance controlled so much of my fucking life. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have killed for a crumb. You know what I mean? And nothing has ever made me feel so happy and so desperate at the same time like drugs did. Yeah. Nothing, right? Like I remember this one time, and I know I never shared this because I hardly ever share it, but I remember one time like I started getting high, I pack it, I mount it, and I put it up to light, and I look at it, and I was excited and turned on by it. Like I remember just like if I had a woman in the restroom with me, like if I was about to get laid, like that, like it wasn't just like I was just, like horny, like I was turned on like from the inside out, bro. Yeah. Like that's and that's why, like, going back to what I said at the beginning, like yeah, drugs and alcohol were fun at one time, but like the way that it controlled me and everything that it did to me, like physically, mentally, emotionally, and more important, spiritually, like the price to get loaded is too high for me today. And it's a price that I'm unwilling to pay again because I know how much I love drugs. I know how much I love getting loaded, right? And here's the truth, right? And some people have a hard time admitting this, but I don't, because I have to know my truth. I love getting high more than I love my kids. Yeah. I love getting high more than I love myself. I love getting high more than I love God. I love getting high more than any of that. And I know that like the moment that I put something in my system, that feeling of loving something more than anything else that I have of value in my life, right, it's going to be right there. It's waiting for me.
It's scary.
It is scary.
It's fucking scary.
It is,
yeah.
Right? And we put ourselves in dangerous situations. You know, like, we could minimize and justify and rationalize. Oh, I just use meth and I'm not gonna overdose. Like Mike overdosed 3 times, you know, in a week, right? Like in my head, I'm thinking like, bro, like people overdose from heroin. They don't overdose from meth, right? I'm not gonna die out here. But the truth is I've been in those, not the exact same apartment complexes, but I've been in many others just like that, waiting for the bag or showing up to someone's door, or fucking when they didn't come out, I'm so desperate, I'm knocking on that motherfucker like, hey, I seen that fool come in here. You know what I'm saying? Like putting myself in dangerous situations, right? For whatever reason, right? And it's so controlling. And when you talked about how you went home and you cried, like, nothing has ever broke my spirit like an empty bag.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I felt defeated, like defeated. And that's not I'm not used to that. Like I go to any lengths. Like the how do you say it? The means or the ways justify the means. Yeah. And that's been me. I'll go to any length. Right. And so, you know, I have a hard time, even, you know, today, I know what humility is because of, you know, the process of recovery. But prior to that, I didn't really know humility. I was very proud. So I remember that that night, you know, not having nothing to smoke. And then my cell phone, check this out. That day that they picked me up, I had a cell phone with numbers on it, all the numbers of all my connections. And that girl that picked us up, she ends up leaving and my cell phone was in there. So now coming home and not having money, not having drugs, and I can't even get the numbers to my connections. Oh, man, it was awful. It was awful. I had no choice but to sleep. And I slept it for days, for days. It was awful. Thank God.
Yeah. So what happened after that?
Well, that was just, you know, an experience, one of many. But... you know, I just continued. That was a big hit for me at that time. So after that, obviously, I was just waiting for someone to show me love. I was desperate. It was, you know, an 8-ball here, or you know, I've been to the point where I only have like a gram or a fucking, you know. I remember I got to the point where I'm scraping like with a hanger, scraping the neck of the pipe and just like burning it, you know, and there's nothing that just fucking fumes and I can taste the fucking lighter and I was just still there, you know, just insane. Yeah. So that continued for a long time. Well, not too long. I was only out there for 3 years, but they were hard. Yeah. I went hard. Yeah. And so I remember one day I was in a car with some guy and his friend. And me and the friend got busy behind the car. And I remember I had like an 8-ball of meth and like $50 of crack. And
oh yeah.
So the
gotta have a little bit of crack in there, you know.
Yeah, somebody was supposed to pick it up and they didn't. So that guy, when he got there, I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And I had it on me. And then so we end up, it was around 3 in the morning, and we go to Monterey Park, like the worst city that you can go to. We fucking go and we park at a park, and I get them loaded, these guys. They were, they weren't about that lifestyle, but I got them loaded, and the driver was all fucked up. So me and the friend, me and him end up hooking up in the back, and, while he was on me, I'm like, I had the bags, so I put them on the floor, and then obviously, we were finished, and then the cops came, and they put the light on the car. So, everyone gets up, and I get out, and the fucking bags are on the floor. And I felt bad for the driver, because I could have easily said, that's not mine. That's not my car. And I felt bad for him. I wasn't going to do that to him. Yeah. So when they asked about the bags on the floor, I said they were mine. And so they took me in. They
probably thought you were just saving him, too.
Yeah.
Like they probably thought they were his, and you were trying to take the fall. But
exactly. Yeah, for sure. But no, so I just said they were mine.
Yeah.
And then they took me in.
Is that your first time going to jail?
That was my first time. And it's been my last.
I was going to ask you, that's your only time?
That experience was, from doing whatever I wanted, to being told what I had to do. I mean, that was...
Yeah,
I think that was my first experience with humility, prior to getting clean. Yeah. But yeah, so I ended up, going to jail. They gave me this. It was a like a drug diversion, PC 1000. It was called, and so I had to do a drug program. And they gave me a list of these places that I can go to, and I end up going to these places, and I found a community.
Talking about meetings and stuff
meetings,
like that, right?
Exactly. 12-step, okay. Exactly. So.
How old were you then?
Early 20s.
Okay.
22 maybe.
Okay, so 22, you started going to meetings. Okay.
Court ordered. What was your experience with them the first time you went? Did you feel like they were loving and accepting, or did you feel kind of weirded out by them and like
indifferent?
Of course, of course, uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They were living without drugs, and I didn't know how to do that. I forgot. I forgot how to just be normal. Mm-hmm. So it was weird. I had to learn, I had to be taught how to fucking be normal again. How to walk, how to talk, how to just do anything. I remember when I got clean, so it's funny, I think I wanted to, because I felt like I had gotten too far. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when they gave me this drug diversion, and I was supposed to show up to go, test. And I remember getting clean prior to having to go get tested, because I didn't want to have to deal with being dirty and then getting caught again. And then, so I made sure to get clean. So by the time I showed up there, my test was going to come out clean. And then I said, okay, I'm going to stay like this until I'm done with this shit. And then, I'll get the probation off of my back. And I'll just, I'll go back to my thing, but I won't get loaded anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
I was like, sounds like a solid plan.
Yeah, sounds.
So I'm guessing you weren't able to stay clean through that.
Exactly. Well, my plan was to do it and smarter, right? After I was done with this probation and all that. So I end up, going to this 12-step program and seeing everyone, and they were having fun and without the use of drugs. And so I'm like, well, maybe I'll just stay here for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And before you knew it, I don't know where my plan went. It just fucking disappeared. It wasn't my plan anymore. Like, I wanted to do what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, you struggled with some concepts, like complete abstinence. right? And so you've been in the rooms since you were 22, but you have a clean date of 6 years,
Exactly.
right? Because you had like kind of ran your own program.
I did.
Yeah, I like to call it the other AA program, which is Adams Anonymous. You know, because I worked that program. Yours is YA.
Yeah,
you know, Yollie's Anonymous.
mine's is Yollie's Anonymous.
You know, mine's Anonymous, right?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I think that's pretty common, right? That we come in and we kind of like want to like maybe like this whole thing works for you guys, but like I'm a little different, right? And there's different factors, right? Like maybe I didn't use as much as you, or maybe like my drug of choice wasn't that bad, right? Or maybe like it was alcohol, it's legal, right? Or like for me, it was like I'm fucking young, bro. I was like 23 when I first got to the rooms, you know? And I got clean at 24, like completely, you know what I'm saying? I was like 22 when I first got to the rooms. I'm thinking, all these fucking old people, like I ain't like you motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm still young. It was just a party phase. Like I'll be okay to go back to alcohol, smoke some weed, maybe some crack once in a while. Like I'll be fine, right? And so like let's kind of talk about that, right? Because I think that is a big problem in the rooms.
Yeah.
Right? Or in recovery in general, we think that like I'll hear people say, oh, I only use drugs for example, like you, right? I only use drugs for 3 years. Well, guess what? Alcohol and weed is a drug, right? So like my addiction didn't start the moment that I picked up meth at 15. My addiction started when the moment I picked up weed at 12, right? Because from 12 until 24, there were very few days, you know, that I wasn't under the influence of something, you know. From 12 to 15, it was a lot of alcohol and a lot of weed. You know, from 15 to 18, it was a lot of alcohol, a lot of weed with a little bit of meth, you know, and then from 18 to 24, right, almost 25, it was just all meth. You know what I'm saying? So like the disease of addiction isn't about like what we were using, how much we were using, who we were using with, right? It's just always having something in our system, right? And so we could be in a room with healthy people doing healthy shit, but our disease still is there with us. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I think it's important to like really kind of get the grasp of that concept. So what was your experience like being in the rooms, hanging out with clean people, right? But still drinking, you know, a lot of the, what would you say? Like with no humility, right? And saying, oh, wow, this is me and that's you guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I told you that, you know, my first drug was, you know, the lifestyle, the money. I didn't know that it was the money that was an addiction or the lifestyle. I didn't know that. So when I came in, you know, in 2006, I came in with, okay, maybe I might have a drug problem, but not no more. Because, you know, I haven't touched, you know, drugs. I can stay clean. You know, I always compared myself to the people that were in, and most of them, you know, they were on drugs for a long time. Yeah. You know, just looking at the differences. Yeah. They went to prison. I didn't. If that car hadn't parked there, you know, I wouldn't have gotten arrested. You know, some women lost their children, their families. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. So all that was like, yeah, you guys really need this. I'm cool now, you know. And sure enough, you know, so what ended up happening when I got clean, I started to focus on, you know, the money, property, and prestige. And I started working at a law firm, and, you know, it's a lucrative business. And I saw a lot of shiny, flashy stuff. And remember, like, that was my first drug of choice. And so I started to chase that. I started to chase my career and the money and going to NA meetings. And so watching, you know, my brothers and sisters recover and do what we do, you know, go to meetings, work the steps, all that, right? I watched them, and then they were always hurting on the outside. So see, they were getting better on the inside, but the outside, it wasn't attractive to me. They were always broke. Either they didn't have a car or they were fucking rolling on buckets. And I wanted something more. And I didn't want to end up like that. So I figured, you know what? I'll stay because this has worked for me, meaning me being abstinent for a long time. It's worked for me thus far. I can do what I do and make my money, right? And work on building. And I'll just come and show them how I'm doing it. Really, that was I was going to show you how this program, that I'm in has changed my life. Look at how shiny it is. Right. And so I never really cared to do the work on the inside.
Right.
I didn't even know that I had to do any work on the inside. Again, I thought I just had a drug problem. So, let's see. I'm trying to. So after a while, I felt like maybe I don't fit in. Because I was abstinent for many years, and then I'm like, this isn't a problem for me.
Right.
Do I even belong here?
Yeah.
And so hanging out with these professionals, right, who look normal.
Yeah.
and they're shiny and they're having a great time. Like maybe that's what I am. Mm-hmm. And so then I thought that maybe that was what I was supposed to be. And this was just kind of something that helped me along the way. Mm-hmm. So then I started to think that I was normal and I didn't need any recovery. Again, I didn't know that I had to recover from anything. And so then I was like, I'm cool. I can have a michelada.
All right.
And then I'll still go to a meeting later and celebrate whoever's taking a cake or, celebrating an anniversary. I can actually still I was giving people cakes. I would go and have a margarita and I'm like, hey, let's go to a meeting after this. And it was all like a party to me. Mm-hmm. And I had no respect for it because I didn't know how serious it was. Mm-hmm. So, I just continue to, go to meetings and drink here and there, and just do Yollie's Anonymous, and I did that for 12 years. No work, no nothing, just hanging out in the rooms. Yeah. That's pretty much.
Was there a situation towards the end of that kind of made you open your eyes and want to apply yourself to the program? Or?
Yeah, well, going around and listening to, everyone in the rooms, I learned a lot. Like it was in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. And so when I found myself in a situation with an ex-boyfriend, he had done like 15 years. And then when he came out, we were together. I helped him get on his feet, car, job, account. So everything was like perfect, right? We were going to be, we were going to have a family. And so he ends up starting to fuck around with drugs. And for me, it was like, oh no, you don't do that. Because I had Narcotics Anonymous in my back of my head. And to them, it's like, you don't do any drugs. Right. So,
you must have missed the part where we said we don't do alcohol.
Yeah.
The alcohol is a drug.
Yeah. But see, remember, I'm normal. I'm not an addict like you. I'm unique. So, yeah. So I got really scared when he started to, fuck around with drugs. And so then I forced him to go get help. And he said no. And he never says no to me. So when he said no, I'm like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? He's telling me no. Mm-hmm. So I had to show him, you don't tell me no. And if you do, there's consequences. So sure enough, he was like, no, I'm not going. I don't need it. And I said, okay, well, if you don't, then it's over. And he said, fine. And I couldn't believe it. This motherfucker was leaving me. So he ends up leaving. And I thought I was fine until like 2 days after it hit me. This relationship that I worked so hard for, it's over. Everything that I knew. And, you know, at that time I had bought a house here in San Bernardino, and I was living there, and, you know, my business was booming. Everything was great on the outside, but this relationship, I didn't understand how. And it tore me down, and I wanted to fucking die. And having that experience of wanting to die while everything else looks great on the outside, it was scary for me. And that moment, that's when I surrendered. And like I said, all that shit they talk about in the meetings, I had it in the back of my mind, and I knew it. I knew what I had to do, and that was the beginning of my recovery journey.
So you went to a meeting and came clean and did all that?
I went to a women's meeting, and I went there for answers. It was funny. I went there for answers. You know, these old timers, they need to tell me what I need to do to fix this because, you know, something's wrong with me. And I'm going to get these answers. And I go to this meeting, and it's a meeting full of women. They were like, there was a lot of, you know, new people that were just getting clean off the streets. They lost their kids. You know, like some real serious problems. And I'm over here, you know, crying about a freaking relationship. Right. So, yeah, after that, I knew like I needed to do something different. And I went to another meeting. I found this woman who was sharing my story. And I got her phone number. And she's the lady who, you know, sponsors me today in that program. And yeah. That's where my recovery journey started.
Nice.
Yeah. She's an amazing woman, by the way, too.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, absolutely love her. She was one of the first people I met when I got clean.
Yeah.
And so I think she got like twice the amount of clean time I have, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Well, why do you think she's my sponsor?
No, she's amazing. She's a hard ass too. She don't play.
And that's what I needed.
I know.
That's what I needed. I needed somebody to instill fear in me. No, I mean, my thing was always, you know, you can't do this. Who said? Why not? We'll see. That's been me my whole life. So meeting this woman, and she just fucking tells me like it is, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. She's been a blessing, man. Like, yeah, maybe you guys need to have her over here.
No, I just thought about that right now too. Yeah, she's very well spoken, all that stuff. And, you know, I tell people I work with, I tell them, bro, like, some people need a foot in their ass and some people need a hug. You got to find out what kind of person, you got to find out what you need, and then find that person that's going to be able to give it to you. Yeah. You know, I'm one of those guys that'll put a foot in your ass while I hug you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. Yeah. But so it's important that we know what we need and what kind of people we need. And for me, I realize that, like, a God of my understanding always puts the right people in my life when I need them, and for however long or whatever the case may be, and it's just always been like that. So, so what has it been like since you've been in the actual recovery process, and not just, you know, abstinent, or not just like loitering at meetings, or not just like giving people cakes, but like what difference do you feel from then and now?
Then, you know, I was pretty much running on self-will. I was God. Today I have a God. I do run on self-will sometimes.
We all do.
Right?
Yeah. We all do.
But, you know, through my recovery process, I've learned, I've gotten some tools. And I know, you know, when I'm running on self-will, I know, and I can take myself back, you know, and use those tools to check myself and come back to where I need to be. So now I feel like I have purpose.
Yeah.
I have purpose. I found a home. I found a home in that, in that fellowship, and I'm of service. It's not just about, and I learned this, when I first came in, it was always about me and what I wanted and what I needed, and today it's not like that. I'm always, thinking about someone else, which that, I've had to learn how to do that because that wasn't me growing up. I was always looking out for myself, always. There was a time when I was out there and I sold my friends. And I would get 30% of whatever we got. And I think about that today as a woman, how dare I? How dare I? And so today I'm very open with women. I'm close to them. I love on them. And I made sure that, my living amends reflect that. Never to do what I once did to a person that I would call a friend. So, so I live like that today.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but because you're talking about this, right? You're talking about being there for others. And I'm pretty sure he said your name on the podcast. He might not have, Sergio. But when we interviewed him, he talked about you. He talked about when he got here and that you were like an introduction to love, an introduction to care, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, I just love her so much. I'm pretty sure he said her name. He did, yeah. He said your name, but he talks about you. So it's that's why for me, I try to teach people that I work with in the recovery sense, right? It is our duty and our obligations to be prepared for when the new person walks in the meeting, right? Who your higher power, right, has lined you guys up, right? And being ready for that moment, because if you have a blurred message of what recovery is, if you don't have a decent understanding of what your personal recovery is, you can't give that to somebody else, right? If I didn't do the work on myself and continue to do the work on myself, then I wouldn't be able to give that to somebody else. All I could tell them is go to meetings and don't get loaded, right? And that is sufficient for early recovery, but as time goes on, that is not enough. I need it more than just don't pick up. People used to say, how do you not get loaded? You don't pick up. Shut the fuck up. That to me, I get the concept. If I don't pick up drugs, but how do I stop myself from picking up, bro?
Yeah.
How do I do that, right? And so and not just that, but how the fuck could I lead without being an example, right? I've worked at many jobs, and you know what supervisors that I followed as a leader are the supervisors that said, hey, let's go do this, not go do that, right? And those are the leaders that I look up to, and those are the leaders that I look up to in recovery. I don't want someone that talks about it.
Absolutely.
I don't want someone that that knows the readings. I want someone that fucking lives the program and not perfectly, right? I need some fucked up people in my life because I need to know that when I'm fucked up, I can turn to some other fucked up people who have fucked up the same way that I fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Hal has an exit. They're not on no more, right? But he said, what? At first we start working the steps for ourselves, and then we start working the steps for others. There is the most loving thing that I could do for anybody is to sit there and work a step with them, because I know the results of that. I know where that's going to lead somebody. I know where that's going to take them in their life. And if they continue the path, then how much their life is going to change because of that, right? And I would be doing a disservice to myself, and I would be doing a disservice for the next generation that are going to come into the rooms, right? by not working in my personal recovery and not doing what I need to do for myself. Right. And I was taught that early on. And it wasn't the first time, because the first time I was like, fuck off, you know. But, you know, getting to the place where I finally admitted complete defeat, I was open to ears to everybody. And the message wasn't always fucking loving and gentle and kind and warm and fuzzy. Sometimes it was fucking rude. It was harsh. It was a little offensive. Right. And like, you know, some spiritual awakenings are rude awakenings. You know what I'm saying? Some people needed to tell me, like, bro, you better get it together. Norma's been one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like Cliff, we're going to get him on. Cliff's been one of them. You know what I'm saying? George was one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like all these people who loved me enough to tell me the truth. And that's what I strive to be. I love you so much. Right? I got a sponsor. I'm not going to say his name, but like, I know you're getting tired of me talking about this. I'm like, bro, if you don't get tired of me telling you the truth, then I'm not going to get tired of you talking about this. So you could come keep talking to me, but don't ever think that I'm going to sugarcoat your behavior or tell you that you're doing okay. I'm going to tell you the truth about yourself. I'm going to tell you the truth about the end results if you keep fucking going down this path. And if you could accept that, we could keep talking, my boy. Like, but don't ever think that Mike knows this too. Yeah. I think I've only had to be hard on Mike once, but I had to tell Mike, no, this is fucking unacceptable. Right? And because people had to tell me that. This is unacceptable, Adam. You keep behaving this way, you're putting your kids at risk. You're putting your fucking livelihood at risk. You're putting everything that you work so hard at. And if you don't fucking stop, you're going to lose it all. Right? And yeah. So
that was normal for me. That was normal for me. See, I thought I was all fucking cool, you know? I really did. And she's like, you're not. You're not cool. And you're not fucking different. You're a fucking addict, bitch, you know? That's it. There's nothing fucking special about you. And so, you know, I always thought I was different than anyone else. You don't know where I've been. You don't know what I've done. What you've done doesn't come close to what I've done. And because I did experience some of those things. And so I always thought, you're no one. You're just like them. I'm different. Right. So I really came in thinking I was different. Right. And Norma was the one who fucking told me, no, bitch. Yeah. So that's what I needed. I needed a kick or two in the ass. And I got it. And, you know, once I had... I realized, you know, all the shit that I did and why I was doing it. And I felt horrible. I felt horrible. I didn't want to be that person. I mean, I became that person. My natural state is a loving one. My natural state, you know, is a caring one. I leave no one behind. That's my natural state. And so I had to become this person. I thought I had to. And I became that person. And I went all the way with her. And so, you know, now doing the work and being in recovery, like I'm able to be the Yollie that I was meant to be. The loving, the caring. Like, you know, the one that gathers everyone. And I think, you know, when I met Sergio, I saw him struggling. And I was that Yollie. I'm able to be that Yollie. I'm not afraid to be that Yollie. Like, my heart is open. I am open. I don't have to have fear anymore. And I gave that to Sergio because that was given to me when I came in. And so that was just me doing, you know, what we do.
Yeah. I have a question I wanted to ask you. Through working a program, through doing the work, Yollie, was there anything that, I know some of our defects and our less honorable traits are kind of obvious. Was there anything through the process that maybe Norma helped you discover about yourself that completely like took you off guard, like you didn't see that about yourself?
Yeah.
Was there anything like that?
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't respect men.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
And you were blind to that before, and then through the process?
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was that person. It's him because he blah 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 blah. I learned that I don't respect men, and when I see men, like wanting to take control or, not me. I will go toe to toe. I will challenge because that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's like I don't respect them. I don't fear them.
Yeah.
And that has to do with growing up. My father,
Yeah.
he left us, and I seen how my mom lived her life, and I didn't respect it, and so it stemmed from there. And not only that, but my brother too, he toughened me up. My brother was a bully to me, and that I learned that through step work, that my brother used to bully me, and that's why I became so hard, because I was going to show him, okay, you're not going to bully me. And so me and him would, get down. And so having lived like that in my home, I live like that out there too.
Yeah.
I've been in some really bad situations because of it.
Mm-hmm. And it probably like a defense mechanism too, right? Because you've seen how helpless your dad left your mom.
Exactly.
Right? And you're like, I'll never let a man leave me helpless like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why, it's very, I don't just follow any man. I have to respect that man to follow him.
Yeah.
To be submissive or as an equal. And when I don't see that humility in them, and I see that they're trying to control. Yeah, that's when I come out like, yeah, you ain't controlling nothing.
Yeah. It's so funny because you kind of made me realize that I never respected women, right? I never respected women. Like I mean, you guys were every name in the book besides girl, woman, lady. You know what I'm saying? Everything else, that's what you guys were.
Yeah.
And then I realized, right, like I would say the same thing. Well, it's not all women, it's just you, because you're this and you're that. But then it's the next girl, and I'm like, well, it's not all women, it's just you and that. I would be like, oh, there's a difference between a woman and a bitch or whatever, right? But what is it about me that's always attracted to these women then?
Uh-huh.
Right? That's something that I really had to take a look at, right? Because I'm fucking great at blaming people, especially women, right? Because I like to pick them a little sicker than me, so that so
they're easier.
So when shit hits the fan, she's a more obvious sick one. I can be like, it's her.
That kind of makes you more sick.
Yeah, I know. Well, see. So I use that to justify, right, that she's a sick one and I'm the healthy one, because it's like. Like when we're standing together, her sickness outshines my sickness, so I'm able to like hide behind her sickness a little bit, right? But then, like, one of my last breakups, years ago, I really had to take a look at, well, then why do I keep ending up with these same women? Why do I keep putting up with this same abuse, right? And I'm not saying I was a saint in any of my relationships, because I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how to treat a woman. I didn't know how to talk to a woman. I didn't know any of that, right? I had to learn through trial and error and really like digging deep in myself. I tell people all the time, like, I became a decent father right away. I became a hard worker. I became motivated. I became a good sponsor. I became all that stuff. But the last piece of my puzzle for me was like, how do I treat women? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's funny because one of your girls reaches out to me once in a while, right? And I remember the first time she reached out to me, like, I hung up the phone with her and I was like, for the first time in my recovery, I'm a safe male, right? Like, she could call me, or women nowadays could call me, right? And know that, like, my intentions aren't bad. Like, I'm not going to, like, try to manipulate your step work. If you have questions on step work, I'm not going to try to manipulate anything that you got going on. I'm not going to feed into, whatever character defects or shortcomings you're acting out at the moment, right? And I'm not going to use that to my advantage to take advantage of you. Right? That was a big moment in my life. And she was the first person to really call me and ask me about this, or, like, what do you think about this, or asking my advice. And to me, it was just a really big moment. But yeah.
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 I remember. I know who you're talking about, and I told her, you know, I feel safe around him. I know you're going to be okay around him too. If you need to reach out, I would reach out to him.
Yeah.
And because I sensed that from you, whether you know you had to learn it after in recovery, but I like to. If I follow people that lead, kind of like what you said about, you know, and your supervisors at work, and you are that person. So when you say, hey, Yollie, this, I'm open to it. If you're not, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this. And so with you, that wasn't the case. So I think maybe that's why I latched onto you when we were in service, and I felt like, okay, I'm cool here with Adam. Yeah. It's you know, when I feel safe, people get to know me. Like my guard is down, I have it down, but I know in a split second it can come up. Yeah. The moment I feel, you know, threatened, or I feel like you're trying to, you know, bust a move, you know, then right away it's like when the what do you call it?
The claws.
When the claws come out, yeah. That's how it is with me.
For sure.
All right. Well, Yollie, we're gonna wrap this up, but I did want to ask you one more question. If there is some advice you can give to a person or a woman that's been through some of the same things that you're going through, that might be struggling right now, fitting into the rooms, or even being open to the fact of coming into the rooms or coming into recovery, what would that be?
Well, I would have to say what my sponsor told me. You ain't different, bitch. You're just an addict. You know, you're just an addict like me. And I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Reach out. Yollie, IE Foothills. Yeah, that's what I have to say. I'm here. It's better on this side. You don't know what you're missing, you know? Yeah. So that's what I have to say.
All right, Yollie.
Well, thank you, Yollie. We highly appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
All right, make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, share with a family member, a friend, long lost relative, whoever, anybody that's struggling that might need to hear Yollie's story today. Make sure you guys share it. Thank you.
But you'll never know unless you walked up in my shoes. As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
You know, it's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you, and take you out forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.